in Sugar Land, Texas, which is a subdivision of Houston, Texas, and I was diagnosed with thyroid eye disease in December of 2022.
Hi, Layla. Thanks for joining us for the TED Community Personal Story videos. Really looking forward to getting to know you, and thanks for coming on to share your story. So I wanted to ask, what was your life like before the diagnosis, before you were diagnosed with thyroid eye disease, TED?
Yeah. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. Not a club I was intending on joining, but now that I'm here, I'm happy to be part of it. So what life for me, just a normal, hectic life. I'm an executive at a bank, and so pretty busy, work full time, lots of hours. I'm a mother of two teenagers and married mom. And so, juggling all those hats, right? Doing the career, doing the mommy mode, and being just a full active person. I'm also on a couple of nonprofit boards, so I kept myself super busy, and so I just that was my life before TED.
So how has that changed now that you were diagnosed with TED? Like, what are some of the, especially at first, like how did it manifest in terms of your symptoms? Did you have Graves' disease as well, which can be common?
Right. Yeah. So prior to all this, I'd never heard of thyroid eye disease. Obviously, I heard of people saying, "Oh, I'm having thyroid issues," but I thought it was more, I was very ignorant of the disease and all the complexities of it. How it manifested was just I was on a vacation one day with my family in Mexico, and I woke up in the morning and my eyes were really baggy, and I was getting plenty of rest, so I didn't have any reason for it. But at that moment, I wasn't super alarmed. But that's where it started. It just started really through my eyes, and everything was just downhill from there. It was pretty bulging at some point. I was losing weight. I was losing, my hair was very brittle. My nails were very brittle. And so it was just a downhill progression, but it really started manifesting with my eyes. So I actually got diagnosed with TED before I got diagnosed with Graves'. So it was just one of those things where I was visiting multiple doctors before I got a true diagnosis of, what was happening to me.
Mm. That must have been like such a frightening time because you're just seeing all these changes in your body, but then at the same time, you've got tremendous responsibilities. Like, how did you navigate that?
Well, so I'm a person that I try not to feel sorry for myself. I'm more of a problem solver. So if there's a problem, I'm going to try to get to what that problem is. And so when I started noticing all those, immediately after the vacation, I went to my eye doctor. And so they were saying, "Oh, well, yeah, you got, they checked my eyes and they said, oh, you're getting older. So you have dry eyes." And I was like, "Okay, yes, I have dry eyes now. So what's the solution?" And so they gave me, they said I should get the counter eye drops and that should be okay, and come back in 30 days. I tried that, but at that point, and it started out with the bags under my eyes. And then it really began to be super uncomfortable. My eyes were very, it felt like shards of glass were in my eye. And then I couldn't sleep at night, and I was having zero sleep. By the way, there were days I can remember I didn't sleep for days and days, and so then I was so tired because I wasn't sleeping, right? And so I went back 15 days later, and I told the doctor, "No, this is not. I mean, something else. You have to give me something else. Something else is happening with me." And so they said, "Well, okay, we'll give you the prescription dry eyes. That's what you have, dry." Okay, I really at that time, even though I was losing weight and I had nothing to account for why I was losing weight, I was just attributing stress. I'm stressed about my eyes, so therefore it makes sense that I'm losing weight because I'm not eating as much, right? because I'm a person that if I get stressed, I don't eat that much. And so at the time I wasn't really addressing the weight gain or even I didn't even mention that much of to my doctor or my eye doctor about the other symptoms that I was experiencing other than the just the grittiness, the uncomfortableness of my eyes and them feeling very weighted. And so I need Zydrah, which is a prescription eye drop, and they said come back in 30 days. Well, it wasn't working. So in 10 days, I went back. I was, no, this was not helping whatsoever. No relief. I felt nothing. And then they sent me to a lab where I can get my own blood and an infusion where they make a therapy by, by taking my own blood. And hopefully that's supposed to relieve my dryness. And so they said, come back in 30 days on that. And I did that, came back in 30 days, and I said, okay. So I had I went to that eye doctor again, and I said, okay, I'm going to put my regular doctor on the phone, and the two of you guys figured this out because something is going on with me. And I said, for all my symptoms, I've lost 20 pounds. My hair is like thinning. I'm like I can't sleep, and so I described everything to him. And I said, you have to figure something out. And about that point, we were in November, and that's holiday time. You can find doctors. They're booked solid for the rest of the year, and then you're not able to make any appointments until the next year. And I said, please, I cannot leave this office until I find something. I need at this point my eyes, they weren't bulging yet, but they were off center. They were not their normal place. And so he the doctor was very annoyed with me. She wanted me to leave his office. And I wasn't trying to be irritating, but I was just really suffering, and I didn't know why I was suffering. So he said, I'll give you two referrals to specialists and give them a call. I said, no, I can't do that because if I call his office and try to call them, I'm just nobody to them. Can you pick up and call somebody for me? And so he called. One doctor was booked solid until the next year, and uh, this other specialist was a specialist of Man Eye Institute, and so he was able to get her to see me the next day. So fine, he said I went off to go see her, and that night I was really, really so excited to just know going to see somebody that has a specialty. I'm thinking I'm going to have all the solutions. They're going to know exactly what's going on. And to her, they did all the background tests, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. When you're doing all those tests, you're so nervous because, like, what are they going to uncover? Maybe they have some cancer behind my eyes. Who knows? And so I'm there only for them to tell me that it's eyes, and it was just such a big letdown. And I went to my car and I literally bawled my eyes out. I normally never cry. It takes me a lot to cry, and I could not drive. I was so upset. And as I was to drive off, she called me, that doctor from the office that just left, and said, can you come back in here? I need to just check one more thing. So I went back, and she said, your eye pressure is really, really high. Have you ever had any problems with your thyroid? And I said, no, I've never had any thyroid problems. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I get blood panels drawn on me every 3 months. So never had any thyroid issues, never had any high blood pressure issues, never had glaucoma, which is if I had glaucoma, whatever the bit. And I said, no, I've never had any issues. And she said, I don't know. I just really think something's wrong with your thyroid. So, and go to your regular doctor or go to your endocrinologist. I think something's going on there. You may have thyroid eye disease. So she told me that. I said, thank you. I left. I went in my car and I stayed in the parking lot literally for the next 2 hours, researching everything I could, thyroid eye disease. And when I read those symptoms, it was really a revelation. Every single symptom that I had was right there. So although I didn't want to know that I had something that doesn't have cure, it just it fit, like it was part of the puzzle. It answered all my questions. And I called my sisters, my husband, we're all on the phone together, and they're like, yeah, this is what you have to do. What you've been experiencing the irritability from the thyroid. Um, so that was the first time, which this was late November, November 29th, I believe, that I had inkling of what was happening to me. And then that point on, it was all the battery tests that I had to take and finding a specialist to be able to get to the path that I was to treat what was going on with me.
What a long journey. And it must have just seemed like, I mean, I could understand that you would feel relieved and then at the same time apprehensive, right? Because you don't really know what's
Right.
ahead. And like as you said, it's possibly something that you may have to live with the rest of your life. So that's a really big diagnosis right in there. So what course of action did you take as far as treating the TED?
So, you know, unfortunately, sadly, for our health system, everything is about going to, exhausting everything to make sure you do have what you have. And so once the doctor told me that, and I figured that is, I'm sure this is over. There's no way I don't have this. Then it was like starting the clock to get the treatment, right? Right. So at that point, I didn't even know that there was treatment, except for the fact that I sat down and saw the Tepeza ads after, all the articles. I read every article. I probably read medical journals and more stuff than I needed to read, quite honestly. But so then from there, I had to go to my regular doctor to okay for me to go to these other specialists, and I find the specialist can't get me in. It's at this point, it's essentially September. And they're like, we can see you in March. No, I cannot wait till March. So I find a specialist at Kelsey Steeple, and I talked to the receptionist, and I just started crying. And I said, ma'am, I cannot wait until February. I literally want to jump off a bridge. My eyes are killing me. I didn't even care about the looks at this point. I did now at this point, my eyes are bulging, but I don't even care about that. I just care about the fact that I can't sleep. My eyes are literally killing me. Um, and so she said, I'm so sorry. She's booked solid. I said, please, 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 please do whatever you can. I need to see her right away. Because at that point I called like all the specialists that they gave me are the ones that I Googled myself. And they were all booked, booked till February, March, at that point, time I didn't have, I felt. And so so I so she squeezed me in. Thank God, thank whoever she is. She squeezed me in, and I was able to see the doctor that 2 days later. So I go there, and this doctor is an older doctor. She was very thorough, and she did everything. She checked. I mean, she checked everything. She had those, the ones that there's this mechanism. I don't know the name of it, but it measures how far your eyes are out. Um, just a battery of tests, okay? And so she said, well, I mean, everything I'm looking at says you have TED, but you need to get your thyroid panel done. We need to I need to get a CT scan, which I have to go to other people for that. So at least I had confirmation based on her assessment. And then she said, well, you need to see an osteoplastic person, but you also have to do all these things. You have to go to your endocrinologist, have them run your panels. And, so that all took really like 2 months to do. And that was me being on top of it, like trying to get people to squeeze me in, being advocates for myself. The CT scan, they said they can't do it until January. I went over there. I went to Kelsey Siebold at the place, the scanning place, and I said, please, I need to get on your books. And so it was just really me being pushy or assertive, I like to say, uh, to get in front of people and to get those tests going, to kind of get things in motion. And so then I was referred to an osteoplastic doctor, and she really started the ball rolling. Once she saw me, it only took her like a minute to look at me, and she said, "Oh yeah, you got TED, and you have Graves probably." By that time, I already got confirmation that I had Graves by doing some other um, scans, and so then I sent everything to her after I saw her. But when I saw her, she said, "I need to get you in to get your." She told me about it and asked me, what was my feeling about it, and she told me more and asked me if I knew about it. At that point, I was a Tepeza expert in my opinion. So I had read everything. I read the side effects. I read all the things that could be a problem for me potentially. And so I said, "Yeah, I'm here for that reason, actually." And so she rushed for me to get the treatment because by that point my eyes were really bulging, and the pressure on my eyes was dangerously high. And so she said, "We need to get you an emergency infusion. Uh, Hopefully, depending upon my insurance, they'll do what they could do." She set me up with a PAL, which is a patient advocate that works with your insurance to expedite the process and help you with that process, because they have to liaison with the infusion center and the doctor's office and the insurance. So thank God that's one less thing I had to do. And so she put me together with my pal. My pal was wonderful, and I got infusion like my first infusion was on my birthday, and that was May 5th, 2023. They're like, "You want on your birthday?" I'm like, "Yes, it's a present to me to get me out of this black hole that I was in." And so it was my journey to Tepeza. Yeah.
Wow. And so your outcome, do you feel like, was it right away you started noticing your eyes receding, or did it take a number of infusions?
So I have normally big eyes. Okay. So I always feel like I have naturally big eyes. But the the day that I took the infusion, it was on my birthday. I did it in the morning, and then I went to work, and immediately I felt, I don't know if it was, sometimes you create things in your head. So I don't know if it was placebo or it was really that I got relief, but I didn't feel pain in my eyes, which was like the primary concern, because my eyes were just so gritty and I didn't want to open my eyes. And so I did immediately feel that. I was tired in the evening. So when I got home, I did feel the tiredness from the infusion, but right away I was able to sleep. I slept for maybe 2, 3 hours, which was like a gift at that point. And then the next couple of weeks, and that was just the first infusion. It's a half, it's not a full infusion. And so was just so optimistic because just that half of an infusion already made my eyes feel so better, and I was able to actually get some sleep. And then every infusion after that was just, I got better looking. People were staring less at me. I was less conscious, subconscious, so I could tell that there was an improvement in my face. And by the time I was in my fifth infusion, I literally could go outside without glasses, without hat, scarf. I do everything to disguise myself, and I never accepted any invitations to go anywhere if I didn't have to. Like if it was for work and I had to do it, I would go. But if it was a optional thing, I didn't go. My friends would call me, I wouldn't go out with them. I didn't do anything for the holiday times when I was having all the December, all the events you get invited to. I didn't go to any of them, and normally I'd be, the first one there because I like to be around people. And so by my fifth infusion, I felt confident enough to go out. And then by the eighth infusion, like I wouldn't say I feel 100% like I'm in, back to normal mode, but I would say I feel just as confident as I did before all this happened.
What a miraculous story. And then what about the Graves? Like, how did you get on top of that? Are you still working on that?
So thank you for that question. Still working on it, So, you know, I did. So while I'm doing all the Tepeza infusions, I'm also had my thyroid removed, and I already prepared my that taking your thyroid out doesn't necessarily make things go back to where they were. In fact, it can sometimes make it worse, and that is what it is. But I was already prepared for that. So once I got the thyroid removed, then the tiredness and not being able to sleep, irritability, and my nails and hair being really terrible, that started to subside. So I started seeing that. I'm still working with my endocrinologist to get the right hormone levels because I still am showing high places and low in some areas. So we're figuring that out. But as far as everything else, kind of really leveled out after that. Between the infusions and the graves, having the hormone therapy, replacing it with the Roxin that I'm now on every day, then my life kind of like started getting back to normal.
Mm. So what about your family in all of this? The people around you. So how have they been affected or helpful, or just maybe they
Oh,
were like in the dark what was going on?
so I have a big family. I'm very privileged to have a very wonderful sisters there, and we're constantly talking. I'm constantly sending pictures. Hey, do you think my eye looks weird, or what's going on today? We'll do FaceTime so they can see how I'm doing. They're really were they they had the disease pretty much, with me. My husband too. Uh, all the bad, the good, snapping at him, or he would say, "Oh, you look fine," and then I'm like, "Don't finish what I'm feeling," all those things. Your family is with you, and when things are good, they're happy for you. So my kids are very involved. My children were always constantly like, researching this, or they'll see a commercial for it and instantly recognize it. So yeah, they were definitely in the trenches with me, and their support just meant a lot. Even though, there were some days that they would invite me, sisters, particularly, or my mom. I just would not want to go out, even though I know they know how I look. It just, I didn't want them to feel like pity on me and what's going on. And when it's your look, it's just it's something so disfiguring about how when your looks change. One thing, like, I'm not trying to, there's so many other diseases that are terrible in people. There's cancer, so I'm not trying to equate. They're not the same, but it's your identity, it's who you are. So when your face changes, you there's something about it that is just it takes away from you. And so, even for the people that I'm the closest to, it was really hard for me to see for them for me to feel comfortable to see me that way.
Mm. There's a line that I hear a lot in talking to people that have thyroid eye disease is they'll look in the mirror and say, "That's not my face." And was
Yeah,
that your experience?
all the time. I'm like, who is this person staring back at me? And it's not like the same. Like, you get old, you get older. We all are, right, if we have the privilege of living. Uh, it's not like that. It's just like that's not the face. That's not. I'm not looking at myself. You just don't. You feel like there's this foreign thing that's just taking over your body, and then you have no way to change it. And you're always constantly thinking people are staring at you. It probably are.
Mm.
Honestly, when your eyes are like that, when they're, that's the first thing you see. People smile, people's face, people's eyes, and your eyes are like, in their face. I'm sure that can be jarring for them too.
Mhm. Yeah. You seem like you have such tremendous determination. So, I want to bring up that we had an in-person meetup. And so, those of us that have thyroid eye disease, we came together in person in a workshop and really accomplished a lot and supported each other. And I just noticed that you were just so outgoing and like really caring about other people and wanting to connect. What was that experience like for you?
I, I honestly, I before I would say this about myself, and probably something I could work on. Not like a self-help book. I'm just like, hey, there's a problem, go solve it, you know? And so I could have seen myself in a group session to talk about our problems. But when I was there, it was so therapeutic for me. You know, even though I was listening to other people and we're trading back and forth ideas, it was just so good to know that you're not alone. And so I can see the benefits of going to an AA meeting or whatever the problem you may be experiencing, because there's just nothing like talking to somebody that has the same similar journey as you. You know, my family loves me. I have a great support system, but I don't think that I can ever speak to something that they've never lived it. So it's hard. You know, they love me, they're sympathetic, but that ear is not the same ear as somebody that's walked the journey with you. So having been in that group, and I'm still, you know, I'll send an email or a text message like, hey, how you just checking in, you know, with your newfound friends. There's just nothing like it. And so I was greatly enriched by that experience. And I'm an advocate for, hey, if there's whatever walk you're on, man, join some other people and sit with them and talk with them, because that is just, it's like medicine.
You know, something that I think is really representative of you, which is something that people really need to know, is when they think about TED patients, even people in the medical community, I've come across this, where it's almost like you're a species unto yourself. And so recently I was, invited to talk to a group. And so they said, tell us about yourself as a TED patient. And I said, well, actually, I'm you, but only I got TED. I said, I'm
Right,
you because I'm concerned about bills, and I'm you because I can't seem to get it all done in one day. And I'm you that I'm dedicated to go to the gym no matter what.
right.
I said, I'm you, but the only thing different about me is that I got thyroid eye disease. And so it really brings home this idea about, hey, I'm a real person. I'm living this full life. I'm, beautiful in 100 different ways. And something entered into my life and just like was a showstopper. And I
Yeah,
think that's really important to emphasize. And I think at the workshop that maybe, you were also able to experience that, like, these are really bright people. These are people that
right,
have some very interesting things going on in their lives, professionals, just like, we were just in a talk with a fellow who's a surgeon and he has TED. And so yeah, but I think it makes it a much more real, um, when people realize that about TED is how disruptive it can be to just someone who has a very successful life.
right. Oh, absolutely. It really turns your world upside down. And I would imagine a lot of things like that could turn our life around, but it's not that we're, you know, it's just like, oh, these subsects of weird people, you know, it's just, it literally is that you're just going through life as a normal person, you know, and then everything in your world stops and it's like, okay, pre, before 10 and after 10. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that workshop was eye opening to, you know, the to people, that they're not alone, and we all, you know, we all walk that journey, and it was just so amazing to see how many, you know, just the variety of people and the things that they were experiencing. Yet we're kind of all experiencing this same ish, you know, the same issues. And I had this, and it was really, it's great, and I hope that people know that, you know, people like you that are problem solvers that say, hey, I've got this problem. Like, let's put these people together. And I'm just deeply appreciative of that, because I don't want to be on an island by myself. And if there's somebody else that I could help, you know, by sharing my story, I'm happy to, because I know how it was very lonely, even though I had a big support group, you know, it's just very lonely to be experiencing by yourself, because only you know say your eyes are like killing you and they hurt so bad, and then you don't want to look at the mirror. You're doing everything you can to avoid looking at yourself in the mirror, or we're on these Zoom meetings or Teams meetings, and I don't want to get on them. I want to be off camera because I don't want to see myself, and I don't want others to see me. And so there's just so many opportunities for you to be in front of people. You don't want to be in front of people at that point.
This is all just so beautifully said. Layla, I cannot thank you enough. And that is, you've really brought to life this whole idea about community. And so we want to invite anyone who has thyroid eye disease, or families, friends, medical people that want to learn more. You can come to tedcommunity.org, and there's lots of ways to connect with us. So Layla, thank you for just taking the time and being so brave to tell your story. Just really appreciate it. And
Sure. Thank you
yeah,
so much for having me. Thanks for creating this group. Honestly, I cannot thank you enough. And anything that I can do to support you or anybody else, I'm happy to do it.
uh, thank you so much.